as directed. Doug Gottlieb in for Colin. This is The Herd. Fox Sports Radio, Fox Sports 1, the iHeartRadio app. Big game this weekend. Bunch of big games this weekend, the National Football League. Greg Jennings is going to join us momentarily. The former Packer and former Viking wide receiver will be our guest. Also, former Dolphin. Find out what he thinks is going to happen in Miami. It's always fascinating to me on how you get these false narratives, right? Like one of the false narratives are, well, NFL contracts are not guaranteed. That's not true. They may not be fully guaranteed based upon what agents put out there as the value, but whatever is guaranteed is in fact guaranteed. Like Matt Ryan's deal is what, $94 million in guaranteed money. He's going to get every penny of that. Aaron Rodgers, 79.2, and some of the reported non-guaranteed money is really guaranteed. All he has to do is have a roster bonus, right? All he has to do is show up at workouts. There are makeable bonuses in there. So NFL players may not like the amount of money that they're guaranteed, but the idea that they're not guaranteed is laughable because it's a lie. Right? And if you don't like the terms of the last 2 years of the deal aren't guaranteed, don't ask for a 5-year deal and be willing to take slightly less money. One of the other false narratives is that Kirk Cousins is overpaid. He signed a 3-year, $84 million deal, fully guaranteed. Now remember, Kirk Cousins was a 4th-round pick when RG3 was the 1st-round pick. So his first couple years in the league, he made bupkis, right? He was like Dak Prescott, where the first 3 years, you can't renegotiate your deal. Then when he became a franchise taggee, he made somewhere in the neighborhood of $44 million over 2 years of being a guaranteed franchise tag guy. Those are 1-year guaranteed deals. He made back-to-back. So you do the math, 44 plus 84. 44 plus 84 is what? $130 million, all guaranteed. Now, he had to not get hurt for either of those 2 years, but he's going to make $130 million or so in 5 years. That's not bad. But to the person who says, the Vikings, what a joke contract. It reminds me of, and I don't know how many of you still get a newspaper, let alone a Sunday paper. But if you didn't get the Sunday paper was like 3 times as thick as a regular newspaper. I had all kinds of different pullouts. And one of the pullouts was a magazine inside. They still have it. It's called Parade Magazine. And the Parade Magazine had some usefulness most of the year, but the most useful edition once a year was how much people make. It was awesome. Still is awesome. You pull it out, and you can't take your eyes off it. It's like a viral video. You sit there and wait, postal worker in Des Moines, Iowa makes $73,000. I'm in the wrong profession, right? Medical sales in Minneapolis, $175,000. I'm in the wrong profession. School teacher in Enid, Oklahoma, makes $35,000. I'm in the right profession. I do not want to do. I cannot imagine working with kids for $35,000. And you look at it, and the person who makes $35,000 is the school teacher who just started in Enid, Oklahoma. You have sympathy for. The postal worker who makes $74,000 in Des Moines, Iowa, you're like, man, are you kidding me? We used to call it going postal. Why would anyone have any gripe if you're making $74,000? What it lacked was context. Right? How many years had you worked? Or if you're in medical sales, it's not just what product you sell, what region you have, or how many regions you have, how many years you've been with the company, and hey, here's another part to it. Were you killing it, and then somebody tried to come steal you, they offered you a boatload more money, and your current company decided to match, or they didn't decide to match, and you got a bunch of money to switch companies, right? It's called leverage, and once you have it, you use it. And guess who had it? Kirk, don't call me Kirk Cousins. He had leverage, and he used it. Right? He rolled the dice as a franchise taggee for 2 years, and then because it's way too expensive to tag him for a 3rd year and that thing was done, He became a free agent. This never happens in the NFL. Never. It doesn't. You're only a free agent when your team is done with you and nobody. Blake Bortles could be a free agent. They might have to pay Blake Bortles $18 million to not be quarterback. Jameis Winston, who, of course, was suspended earlier this year for yet another dumb thing he did off the football field. Granted, it was 2 years ago, and even he says he doesn't know what happened, but it was enough for the NFL to go, dude, really? Something else with women? Enough. But last year, it's about the market. And people in real estate maybe know this the best. Right? Over the last 5 or 6 years, especially in Southern California, real estate market's been on fire. On fire. Is it the economy? Sure. But the big thing was a scarcity of goods, a scarcity of houses. That's really what it comes down to. There wasn't anything in the market. And so the market kept going up because people said, that house really isn't worth $1 million. It's really worth, but you're worth what somebody's willing to pay. And a house is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. And if you have to have a house in Southern California in order to live, in order to breathe, you move in, you're like, man, I got to get a house. And I don't know, this is the going rate. What were your options if you were Minnesota? And again, here's the context of it. They had Teddy Bridgewater, who they had managed a game and got them to the playoffs before they missed, a field goal you could kick with your left foot against the Seattle Seahawks. In their last practice of training camp, he blows out his knee. And because they thought they had a playoff team, maybe a Super Bowl team, they gave a first-round pick to go and get Sam Bradford. And everybody in their offensive line got hurt. And so Sam Bradford had the highest completion percentage for one season in the history of the National Football League, but most of it was because, one, he doesn't have a lot of fortitude to stand in there. He's been injured a bunch. And two, he had to get rid of it quick because he was facing live bullets every moment. Right, this is a franchise that had a plan. Their plan was Teddy Bridgewater, young quarterback, making young quarterback money. Let's build the whole thing around him. And then plans changed when Teddy blew out his knee. And then Teddy comes back last year, but he's not really ready to play. They get Case Keenum, and they got Sam Bradford. And things are going swimmingly until Sam Bradford has one great game. And then because of the years of abuse to that knee and all of the different injuries, it just hurts. So he played like a game and a half, and then he was done. And then they get all the way to the NFC Championship game. People are, wow, they got the NFC Championship game with Case Keenum. So, Cousins making this much more money has to be better. Again, no context. The Packers lost Aaron Rodgers last year. That's why the Packers were bad. The Bears were in the last year of the John Fox regime. This year, they went out and added a great play caller as head coach, some other vital pieces, and oh yeah, by the way, they trade away 2 first-round draft picks for Khalil Mack. That's why they're better. Forget about the fact that around the league, injuries were the story of last year, from Carson Wentz going down or suspensions to Ezekiel Elliott. The NFC, more than the AFC, was decimated by injuries or suspensions. Zeke doesn't play 6 games. Cowboys not in the playoffs. Cam Newton gets hurt. You look around the league, and the New York Giants last year lost all of their wide receivers in one game. Does that mean they would have been good? No, but they would have been a lot more competitive if they had Sterling Shepard, if they had Odell Beckham Jr., if they had, their tight end as well, Evan Ingram. And oh yeah, by the way, if you remember, the Vikings were dead to rights beaten by the Saints at home, if not for a miracle finish. And so, look, once they hit the end of the season and Case Keenum got exposed against the Philadelphia Eagles with a backup quarterback, they're like, look, we got to go get the best guy available. Their choices were Lamar Jackson. When you have Adam Thielen, when you have Stephon Diggs, when you have Kyle Rudolph, you don't want a guy who's going to run the ball 15 times a game and complete 15 passes. You need a stable, viable starting quarterback. And the market was this. A.J. McCarron, Tyrod Taylor, Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater, or Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins making $84 million over the next 3 years. He's second in completion percentage. He's seventh in pass yards. He's eighth in passing TDs. He's eighth in passer rating. He's above middle of the road in every statistical